Alright, what's going on, guys? So due to request, today I'm doing a tutorial on how to build a medieval house. I'm going to be going through it step by step. I've split it up into sections. First is the material, so the types of wood, cobble and all the different layouts of walls and stuff like that I feel looks the best. Secondly, I'm going to be going over the layout, so the different measurements, the measurements of the walls, how many blocks they need to be, and generally that kind of thing with windows and doors and stuff. And then finally, I'm going to be going over the exterior and the interior, so the trees and the pathway, right down to where the grass goes and the flowers. And then when it comes to the interior, just different furniture designs, where the bookcases will go, the balcony, the stairs, you know, everything along them lines. So I put a lot of effort into this video, so I hope you guys are going to enjoy. If you have enjoyed it, by the end of it, remember to leave a like and a comment, and enjoy the video. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to think about is your material and your purpose. By this I mean, if you're building a blacksmith, you're not going to build it out of wood, or, you know, along that kind of same thing. So I've put together two walls of styles that I believe look the best. Now we're going to go over the wood wall first, since it's the most common used material, and it usually looks the best. So, say we're building a house, for example, like the one you saw previously. Usually I would go with this. I just use log and then just simple normal planks, as I feel it looks the best and it's just the cheapest to build if you are building a survival world. Or this is another design I would maybe use: a cobblestone and then wood, along with logs on the side. Now these two are two that I probably wouldn't recommend, and I'm going to try and recommend you not to use them. As personal preference, I mean, if you can make it look good, if you can make it work, then by all means go ahead and use it. And the 10 one is texture pack. Just an example of how different texture packs can be used to create a different effect. So like this is the vertical wood from the custom texture pack I have, and it just creates more of a wall effect, if you see what I mean. Now this is the stone wall. These are a couple of textures I feel look nice together and would perhaps go on a more modern building, or again a blacksmith, for example. The stone brick and the stone, this is one that I feel usually it's only texture pack. It varies what things look like depending on the texture pack. I'll try and show these in default, but just to give you an example of what it looks like in DokuCraft, if I was building a wall out of stone, I would try and use smooth stone as well as another brick just to break up the constant texture, as I feel it looks the best to have a bit of variation. Short pause there whilst I was thinking about what I was going to say. So this is what it looks like in default. See, it still looks nice in default. As with this wood, maybe it creates a little bit of difference if you are using it for walls, maybe not. Also, this looks pretty good as well, the cobblestone and the wood and the logs. Again, this, maybe not so much. The stone walls definitely look a lot better in default, because these stone, they flow better. The stone brick and the smooth stone definitely flow together a bit better. The cobblestone and the normal stone, they don't flow together as much. But as I keep saying, I'm going to try and stress, how your building looks usually depends on the texture pack. So now we're going to move on to the second most important step, and that is the layout. So one of the main tips I want to give you is keep your walls odd. At least keep the side where you're going to have the roof, for example. Now if I throw this down quickly, this is going to be your basic roof design of what I'm going to show you and what I feel looks the best. You're going to want to keep it so it comes to a point. This way you can have the log running down the middle, and you're going to keep the symmetry, and you're going to be able to have the textures together that flow, that are evenly spaced in amount and in proportion to themselves. So as you can see here, it's a nice roof. It's simple, nothing too complicated. I've created it in seconds, and it looks nice. Another thing about keeping the walls in an odd number so that they come to a point is you can have a door easily enough. Now I'm just going to throw down a quick wall like so. As you can see, it comes to a nice point. We can shove a door in. And there we go. Nice simple wall. Comes to a point, and we have a door. But you know, if you don't want to do that, you don't want to keep the textures just like that. Maybe throw in a couple windows. like so. And as usual, you want to keep the symmetry, but not necessarily. Don't think you need to have everything symmetrical all the time. I mean, you could throw the door here, for example. This way we have a nice little doorway, and we can have a big window here and a smaller window here. The only problem is with having a door like this, you can't have, well, you can, but in my opinion it's too overpowering. You can't have the roof like this since it goes too high, and it generally don't look nice, and since that is going up so high, it kind of dwarfs the whole structure. So I recommend, if you're doing something like this, having a simple roof so it looks like a cottage just running around like so. Or if you want to make things look a little different, you don't have to have this here. You could have a little porch, a little door frame like so. Brings the excuse me, can't get my words. It brings the doorway out a bit, and it just gives it a little bit more depth. Now, the basic size that I will always recommend is a 5x5. This gives you a nice, simple little house, and you can apply the rule of having an odd number of logs around the structure. And then on this, we're going to apply this nice wall styles that we looked at back over there on the testing wall. Here, you obviously wouldn't do this unless you're up for a bit of variation. I've just applied the different wall styles that I feel look the nicest. I'm with the cobblestone and the wood here, and then just plain wood there, so you can see how it looks. And it obviously it still flows. This style, you know, is a bit more industrial. You go in with the cobble, and this style is more, you know, like cabin or cottage in the woods type thing. So now that we've got the basic techniques down as to how to build a nice medieval house, we're going to throw down a basic layout. Simple 5x5 floor, and then around it we have 3 high pillars every 2 blocks. Then we're going to fill up these gaps using wooden planks or a material of your choice. Next, we're going to place these support beams coming off of every other log block, or every single one rather. Now, as with the bottom floor, we're going to raise these up 3, but keep the side ones 1. Now that we have the pillars, we can start to place the roof in. To do this, you're going to come to the corner of these and place the cobble like so. I'm going to repeat this on the next layer up. Now, for the third layer, we're going to do this again, except it's going to be 2 blocks high. You're going to repeat this until you come to the very top block. Now that we've done this, we can place in our wood to fill it in. You would obviously repeat this along all the sides, filling in the log pillars to lead the top. And finally, we'll end up with this, a nice 4-stage roof, which follows the exact same pattern all the way around, giving us a nice cottage effect. If you want to add a little bit more effect, you can come around here where these blocks are and place steps underneath all of them. This will make it look so the roof flows a little bit, and plus it can make a nice support for a balcony, which we'll place on the front momentarily. After this is done, the rest is pretty much up to you. We're going to place a door here, stay nice and simple. If you want, you can maybe stick the logs in here, just maybe give it a bit more definition, and so that this doesn't look as odd, we can place a balcony right here, like so. Now again, like most things, it's up to personal preference how far you want this balcony to come out. Personally, I think this is maybe too much, but like I say, it's completely up to you if you want to bring it out this far. But just for the sake of now, I am going to keep it out this far. So it gives the effect of a balcony, but more of a sort of just a little step out place. We could even put some logs here. This is creating a little bit more depth. Or we could even throw in a window right here. We have the steps as a sort of ledge, and here we have the half slabs. Or we could even just use steps again. Create a sort of ledge. Or if we're going with this style, and placing the fence to maybe prove as supports. Or if you don't want to be too fancy, you just have a nice big window. But just for the purpose of the video, I'm going to go with a balcony like this, with the log beams here, and then the fence to look like it's supporting up the balcony. Now another thing we're going to do before we get to the interior is the exterior, which I think personally is the most important thing aside from the build itself, because creating a nice exterior will create a better atmosphere. Now usually I would go with a gravel path, which is why I'm going to use it now, and I would place it like so. You could just do a completely straight gravel path, which, yeah, it's all well and good, but again, based on where you're building it, if this, you maybe do a straight path like this, maybe in a more built up environment. But for the way I'm building this, it's more of like a house in the woods. I'm going to do a sort of stray, random gravel path, like so. And around the sides, I'm going to place trees. Now, we can either do this type of tree, just a normal standard tree like this, or we could go with a pine tree, like so, for a more snowy, again, like out in the woods, cabin environment. But I am going to go with the smaller tree, just because personally they're my favourite. I find they're not too big that they overpower the house, but they're just the right size that they will provide a nice sort of garden. And there's one more about here. Oops. And then around the area, I'm just going to go ahead, place some bone meal, grow a couple of plants, just get it looking a bit nicer. And then around the pathway, usually I'll just go around it with fence, like so. Not a completely solid pathway, a solid fence, because I want it to feel a bit more wrecked and a bit more, you know, like under the weather. And then throw in the occasional standard with a torch on it. And then if we maybe throw in a couple more trees just around the area, it creates from a nice, as I said, a sort of secluded location. And a nice big tree there. Okay, so that's the exterior. That is how we'll do the gardens. Now let's head on to the interior. Now, the interior, the interior can depend on how you want it to look. It can depend on whether you want it realistic, or if you just want to, you know, be not so much realistic, more for it to serve a purpose. But for the sake of this video, I'm going to try and keep it, you know, as realistic as possible, as far as blocks are concerned. So we're going to throw in this beam right across here. Not only will this provide a floor to place beds on, but it also adds to the cozy effect. And here we're going to throw in half slabs. Now of course I'm in creative, so I can just middle click and get these top up blocks, but if you're not aware of how to place these, you just want to take a half slab and place them underneath the block like so. Now that that's done, I would usually place another beam here, and this is completely up to you, remember, but I would place a stair here, a stairway. You could have a ladder at the back, I've done that before, but you know, it's completely up to you. You could have it going round like so, and leading up top, but usually I find this takes the space up too much, but again, it's completely up to you. These are just guidelines, definitely they're not rules in any way whatsoever. Whoops. And let's place that here. I'm going to use this sort of stairway and go up like this. This way we have a nice, more spacey, that's not a word, and a more spacey second floor in which we can build rooms on. So it makes sense to start on the first floor. We're going to place a kitchen. We can place it wherever. Probably going to place it here, just for like space sake. I'm going to place a half slab here. Apparently we aren't. Okay. I'm going to place a fence here then. This makes a sort of, I don't know what really it creates or what it makes look better, but I find usually it just looks better to have them on the top. And then here we can just place a chest. And then maybe I like to have something like this. This is where a texture pack actually comes in handy. If we're doing walls, or we want vertical wood, if we want to just like vary from the walls here, and place something like this, and then we could even go ahead and grab a trapdoor and place that there. Here you have some bookshelves, and we can maybe have a little desk around there. Got a pressure plate. Nice little desk for decoration. Or, you know, we could even shove another little stairway there down to a mine. But that is the second floor pretty much done. Nice and cozy. We have room for everything that we could need. Got a chest, a crafting bench. We can't actually reach that furnace, but you can always get rid of that block. And then we just have some bookshelves. Maybe even stick a chest there, or even a chest there as well. You probably, space for a double right there. If you need a bit more storage space. So that done, we can head on to the second floor. Now I've laid the beams out on the second floor, pretty much the same way I did the other ones. I'll explain why in a second, but I've just used the main beam as with here. I've just carried it on up to the top, and then I've run these beams off symmetrical to these ones. Now this again is where a texture pack comes in handy, but if you're not using a texture pack that doesn't look right with how I'm going to plan this out, you could just use the default, and you could just use the normal standard wood, or even a different coloured wood for a bit of difference. Now right here, this is personal preference. I like to put this here, a little balcony. Poof, it's all done. Okay, so like I was saying, for the balcony there, and then I suddenly went and finished up the house. So let me show you around. As we come upstairs, I've stuck books on the side here, just to take up the empty space that is to the side. Straight on, when we come up from the stairs, we've got a chest room. Both of them chests are accessible. a furnace, nice little painting, and some bookshelves for decoration. And then, immediately to our right, down the corridor, we have another chest room, right here. And we have a crafting table there. It's just some more storage. And then we have a bed here, which I obviously had to run some logs, run some logs across, but it didn't actually matter, they didn't show up, because these are the stairs. Oh, I'm wrong. There are the wooden planks, which go under the balcony. And there we go. Nice, cozy little house. Medieval house. All finished and done. So, I hope this has helped you out. And I hope you enjoyed. And I hope you learnt something. And that you can incorporate this, the style that I've used here, and some of the tips into your own builds. I will put a link to the download of this world if you want to take another look at some of the layout features. You know, just in case you want to look, or even if you want to use this house in one of your builds, if you just want to like copy it over. So yeah, I hope you learn. Like and a comment, always appreciate, and I'll see you guys later.